Hello, my name is Christy Zeidler, and I did my thematic unit on water. And I started my original unit out with this book, which is called A Raindrop's Journey, and it basically was an introduction of one raindrop that went through the journey of falling down upon a leaf into the river, going past a fish, and eventually in evaporation going back up into a cloud, back into a cloud, rain, and then into the ocean. And so it really introduced the water cycle, which is where I went next. Here on my felt board, I have an interactive, the water cycle felt board that they can remove the pieces and put them back on. And they have labels such as evaporation, condensation, precipitation that we can interact and do. And we talk about why it was one raindrop, and how water's made up, and how it ends up being part and looking as one as in the ocean, which I went into explaining in science about how water molecules are set up, how they're oxygen with 2 hydrogen, and they were actually able to view this, look at different models of H2O. And then I actually had them build a hands-on water molecule, and every student in my class was going to make one, and eventually we're going to connect them. They have magnets and they connect to build and to show the bond that creates one droplet into a body of water, such as rivers, lakes, eventually oceans, and then starting the water cycle of evaporation all over again. I incorporated watching the weather cycle in our my daily weather board, where they had to pay attention to our school week's plan of whether it was a rainy day or sunny day or cloudy day. And then over in this area here, which is the math part, we had to do tally marks. And this is based on 5 days, which brought in the point of fractions. And this was my fraction wheel where they can add and remove parts, whether it was sunny, cloudy, rainy. And that described whether it was, if there was 2 of the cloudy, it was 2/5, etc., which introduced fractions to them. And then I also moved this over into a money chart, and a money board, and showing how fractions can make up parts of a dollar, and they can flip open and show that, 1/5 made of quarters, what that looks like, 20 cents, bills of dollars, and how the fractions can equal a whole, which is the dollar, made up of different types of money, whether it's a nickel or a dime. And in this case, they counted by 5s or by 10s. And also moved them into several graphing math components. This was also following the weather, graphing a bar graph on days that were sunny, days that were cloudy, and days that were rainy. From this, I brought in the, as well as fractions, brought in the point of probability. And this is our probability wheel. If we did have this many days and you spun the wheel, what would you end up with? What are your chances of ending up with a rainy day, cloudy day? And I brought in probability jars that had different makeups of letters, and they had to guess based upon how many things were in, what the probability and what the fraction would be. And they had several worksheets that they had to do regarding that. And then I also took it a step further, where they dealt with the water cycle again on probability. If there was so many days and they were by an ocean, what's the likelihood the next day would be X? Or if they were in the desert and they had so many days of sunny, what's the more likelihood of the next day being? So they actually have to think up and above without something concrete that they would have to answer that question. They had worksheets to fill out on those choices. And then within all of these units, I incorporated always literature. This was a book called Go Fractions that had the teams made up of how many people were on one team or the other, how many shots they made, etc., etc. And water. This was just a visual book that they could make a water painting of what their image of water would be. And then, as well as, I made fun interactive things such as this board game. This was on the water cycle. They had to start it sort of the sunny start and move according to which playing piece they picked up go through the board game and hopefully the winner would end up into the ocean, which is where our Raindrop's Journey book in the very beginning ended up our raindrop into the ocean, which was the goal at the end, being won. Also, it brought me into my science unit, which was one, the water molecule, and second, it brought me into Texas weather and water. We have a very great year this year and last year with the drought and the flooding of this year that left a lot of articles for them to read through and to read, what was the situation last summer, what was the situation this summer as far as our rainfall, what does it mean, making them think a little bit ahead and come up with conservation ideas. And they actually had to list a conservation suggestion of their own that would be posted within the room. And then in the end, I chose a story out of the Children's Book of Virtues, which was The Little Hero of Holland. And this was a story about a little boy who saved a village. They had a dike holding up the ocean wall, the sea wall, the sea out of the town. And he found one little hole, and he had to put his finger in order to stop the water from breaking the wall and flooding the entire village. And we had a theater unit that they had to act out the pieces of the story, and they had to incorporate their science knowledge to explain why it was important. What happens when one drop comes through? Is it just one drop? How are they attached from their science information that they did learn? So I'm making them think up and above, not just acting out the story, but putting their science information that they learned together with it as well. And that is how I incorporated literature, science, math, and made it all part of my water unit, all linking all different types of learning together, hands-on, worksheets, theater unit, dramatic play, I guess you call it, and many different types of graphing, probability charts, fun games, anything that you could think of to try to engage the students in different types of learning, to reach each and every one, and to take the theme of water and take it across many different types of learning. And that was my unit on water, and thank you very much.